Found myself in conversation with a young man in Columbus, and he was sharing about some of the struggles of people in the city and the brokenness in the city. And I remember thinking, okay, yeah, what city doesn't have people with problems? Join the club, right? But as he shared about a lack of churches that strive to be part of the solution in the city, I started to listen. And then when my wife and I visited Columbus and came across numerous families, singles, college students, entrepreneurs, artists, you name it, a diverse community, we realized that God had burdened us to start a church that the prophet Jeremiah says, a church that prays for and seeks the welfare of the city, a church that's not just in the city, but for the city. And so God had made us aware of the needs for a gospel reproducing church in Columbus, Ohio. And so we started the Scarlet City Project.
When I tell people that I'm planning a church, I often get two responses. First, people usually ask me if the church has a name, and secondly, people tend to ask if we have a building. And although those aren't inherently bad questions, it really forces me to think about what church is. I really believe that church is a people of faith specifically, on mission with God, as a part of this world to be a part of the solution to the problem. People who are living in community for the purposes of transformation, because that's what God longs for, is transforming the brokenness, giving hope to those that are hurting. In fact, the power of the gospel message that the church has should impact every man, woman, and child in a culture and empower them to be the church where they live, to bring that message of Jesus Christ, bringing restoration to the hurting and the hopeless.
Our vision is to be a people that are joining God's story of transformation and renewal. The reality of the situation is, even though we're planning a church and starting something new, the mission that we're on is nothing new. And God has been at work in Columbus and around the world throughout all of human history, and will continue to work long after we're gone. Our role as a community of faith and as people and as followers of Jesus Christ is to join God in His redemptive mission and be part of His redemptive story. We are to be, as Paul says in 2 Corinthians 5, ambassadors for Christ. It is that God is literally making His appeal through us. And so the question for us is, how do we partner with God in His redemptive story and work out the gospel in the city of Columbus?
When I think about what the future holds, on the one hand, there's a great deal of uncertainty. There's this sense that we're picking up our families and moving to an unfamiliar city amongst unfamiliar people in order to start a movement that is countercultural, a movement that we essentially want to impact not only the city, but thereby impacting the world. But on the other hand, I feel like as I look into the scriptures and I look back on my own life, there's a great comfort knowing God's faithfulness, knowing that He is a God that takes care of us, that has concern for us. So when I think about all the uncertainties, there's definitely a peace that comes with knowing that we are a part of God's story. In spite of all the uncertainties, whatever is in store for us, it's good.
God has been so good in blessing us with numerous partnerships with the EFCA, the Challenge Youth Conference, Fellowship Associates, and numerous churches and individuals. But I want to ask you right now to consider joining the story. Would you prayerfully consider becoming a part of a people joining God's story of transformation and renewal through the power of the gospel? Because the gospel changes everything. It changes families, it changes destinies, it changes hopes, it changes lives.